What's going on, everybody? How we doing? How's it going? How's it going? Welcome, everybody. Happy Thursday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, no matter where you are. What's going on? No hot mug today. Yeah, we good. What's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome. What is going on? Hey, look at all these people in here. Hey, I missed some folks before I got in here. Let me say some thanks here. Renaud, hey, thank you for the Prime. That was like 8 hours ago, so in between stream. I appreciate that. Thank you. Rise, thank you for what? 3 months in advance of tier 1. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for the 3-month sub. I didn't even know there's I keep forgetting that these things exist. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 3 months. That's wild. Dab gang with the raid. 67 folks. Keeps going up. Like I said before. If you got some time before this stream and you're not in dab stream, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They're answering your questions. They're helping you learn the things that are hard. Why are you not there before here? Let's go. Chop, hey, thank you for the 6 months. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Techno Ghost, thank you for the 2 months. I appreciate you. Izzy with the 8 months. What? Boats and logs for life. Hey, that's wild. Nizza with the 3 months. Thank you so much. Let's go. 8 months, folks. Whew. Indifferent. I'm working. That's why I'm not in. You were in there. You're always in there. What are you talking about? Hey, everybody. Yeah, we've been partner for how long have we been partner for? We've been affiliate for 8 months now. I didn't realize it was 8 months now. That's wild. All right, folks. That Traversy video is dope, but so long. I'm still not done. That's all right. It's all right. It's a long video. Like I said, you just got to get through it. It's a long video, but it has so much good stuff in it. Kind of hype today for no reason other than being here. That's the best kind of hype, yo. Hype, just hype for hype. I love it. Law, what's going on? How you doing? All right, everybody. We got some interesting things today. We're gonna do something a little bit different today that we haven't done before. You came to get, but you might get a little got. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be a little different today. We had a question of the day, though. We did have a question of the day. Question of the day. What? Wolfpack of 1. A. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. That's wild. Thank you so much. 10 gifted subs. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. What? It's always so wild. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Alrighty, folks. We did have a question of the day. Now, the question of the day was, would you rather give up GPS in all of its forms or streaming TV and movies? So like no GPS on your phone or a device, or no Netflix, no Disney Plus, all that stuff. GPS or streaming movies, TVs. Let's see. Y'all love Disney Plus. Look at all y'all. Netflix better start sponsoring. Y'all lost. You're like, I don't go nowhere. I don't need GPS anymore. I haven't been leaving the house. Wow. All right. We do have a few no streamers, but most of y'all are dropping GPS. I feel the same way. I have a very weird thing. I had something that. What? Alyssa, thank you for the 8 months. My computer won't start, so I can't be on mod powers. But wowza, get a load of how long we've been doing this. Hey, thank you for the 8 months. I hope your computer works out. That's wild. Thank you so much for the 8 months. I appreciate you. So I have a weird thing. Had a weird thing since I was little. If I go anywhere in a car and I'm paying attention, I can get back. Like anywhere. Like I could drive for an hour, I could drive for 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. If I drive there and I pay attention, I can always get back. Now the weird thing is I have no idea. Like if you asked me how to get back, I can't tell you. Right? I can't tell you. I can't tell you like take a left, take a right. But if I'm driving, I'll just know to go left or right. It's weird. I don't know what it is. I've tried Googling it. I found some other people that can do it. But for me, it just feels left. It feels right. And I can do it. I've been able to do it since I was little. Don't know what it is. So I'll get rid of the GPS as long as I'm paying attention. Cause I started The Mandalorian. I've been sleeping on Disney Plus. I have been sleeping on Disney Plus. Mandalorian is fire. So good. So good. So I can't give it up. I'll get rid of the GPS out the window. I gotta see how this ends. This is the way. Ooh, I've always wanted to make a GPS app that said turn on the McDonald's on the right instead of turn in 500 feet because I'm better with visuals. That's actually a really cool idea. Also, before we did the GPS or no streaming, Wolfpack of One did just say, I just signed the dang thing. They highlighted the message. So I'm giving y'all a 10-second warning because the dang thing they signed was for their job. So Wolfpack of One, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. 5-second warning. We're celebrating the job. Let's go. No, wait. Oh, height. There we go. Hey, congrats, Wolfpack. Let's go. Hey, what a drop. Let's go. Another jab. Oh. Hey, congrats. That's wild. Congrats on signing. That's huge. Proud. Super proud. That's wild. Alrighty, folks. Like I said, today's gonna be a little weird. We are going to do something a little bit different than we've ever done before. There are no slides, and I'll explain that in a second. So since we don't have any slides, a few reminders. We have this Friday, so as in tomorrow. Are you lying to see what's there? It's not a slide. It's a picture. Tomorrow we have our 6:30 p.m. on Friday class where we're doing some more interview secrets, really talking about how to start setting up your interview process. So getting your hit list in order, finding the people that you're going to talk to. And we're going to do that at 6:30 p.m. on Remo. So that's never here on Twitch because we share all the juicy on Remo. So 6:30 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time will be on Remo, dishing some interview secrets and helping you start your hit list process. Then Sunday, we have our lovely review session, but Sunday's gonna be a little bit different. So let me explain what's about to happen tonight, and then Sunday will make a little bit more sense. So tonight, there are no slides because you are gonna make the slides. That's right, folks. Not today, by today, you're gonna make the slides. So tonight, Oh God, no. Tonight, I'm going to show you the code. We're going to walk through the big ideas, and then your work is to build a class around MVC. So I'm going to show you some code. We're going to talk about the big ideas. All right? We're going to talk about the big ideas. And after the big ideas and showing some code, we're going to end a little early. The Leon curse there. Going to end a little early, and you're going to build your own slides. You're going to build your own fancy drawings. And the person that comes up with the best slides and the best visuals wins an exclusive prize. Wins a fantastic exclusive prize. You will automatically win one of the prize packages for Tuesday. You will automatically win one of the Azure credits from Tuesday. You will automatically win a never before seen sticker. So you have from tonight until Saturday midnight. I'll put that time in the, between now and when we start our review session on Sunday. So the cutoff is our review session on Sunday, because the review session on Sunday, I'll have my own slides. So I don't want you coming in here and cheating, you know? So on Sunday, if you come to the review session on Sunday, we will be building the full stack to-do list with MVC from scratch together and working through the slides. We're gonna be talking about the bigger topics in detail. And so tonight is about flipping a little bit, getting you comfortable with doing the bigger research. And we're gonna start doing this not too often, but every once in a while. And the reason why we're gonna do this is because you all will eventually be embarking on your own job. And when you get to the job, they will be using a different stack than what we have learned together. There'll probably be bits and pieces that we've learned together, but within those first 3 months, you're gonna have to learn a lot. You have to learn a lot. And so what you have to get used to is learning the stack, learning the terms, and learning them quickly. It's one of the things that we have to start practicing. So tonight, I'm going to give you the code. We're going to talk really high level, and then you're going to build your own slides. You're going to build your own lecture around this topic so you can really compartmentalize the ideas and start practicing for when you're on the job. Then you're going to come back Sunday, and on Sunday, we're going to do it together. I'm going to do it all from scratch. I'm going to walk you through a full lecture. You're going to have a full understanding of all the topics. So don't sweat since this is your first time at being perfect. It's about the exercise of doing it. Okay? Do I want lecture notes too? I want slides. I want slides. I want visuals. I want it to look good. I want the big topics to make sense. Right? And so I will be the individual looking at these things, but I'm going to give you until Sunday. Our review session starts, and the person that has the best slides, the best visuals for MVC built around our code, you win a Microsoft prize package. You win a never before released sticker. You win. I don't want to reveal the big one. I'm gonna reveal the big one. You get Azure credit, and then the big one. You ready for the big one, y'all? I don't know if you're ready for the big one. The big one. This is the best one. The big one. You ready for the big one? The big one will get a special command that they can use in chat that will trigger the Mashi Simba cam. No channel points required. No channel points required. They can turn on the Mashi Simba cam. They will have the power. They will have the power. So, there's a lot on the line here tonight, folks. There's a lot on the line here. We got Azure credit. We got Microsoft swag. We got control of Mashi Simba cam. And a never before released sticker. So, we are going to walk through code together. We are going to walk through some high level concepts together, and then we're going to stop. And then you are going to take the rest of our evening time to build out your own slides, your own lecture on this topic. Get it into me before Sunday when we do our full lecture together, and you're up for that beautiful prize. We also have to do a raffle. And so we have a raffle to do for the newsletter. So if you opened the newsletter before class started, you were entered into a raffle. And so let me go ahead and pull this up. One second here, folks. Alrighty. So the way the newsletter raffle works is if you open the newsletter, sometimes there's a link, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's a link, sometimes there's not. Today there was a link. And if you open that link, it gives you to a special form. You put in your information into that form. And when you put your information into that form, I have a list. And with that list, I will compare it to the folks that enter the raffle. The rules are, if you entered the list before class started, you're good. But do not enter this raffle unless you signed that form. Because if you enter the raffle and you win, and you did not enter your information into that form, you get banned from everywhere. Banned from Twitch, banned from Discord, and I will revel in the ban. I will be so happy about this ban. So we're gonna go ahead and open up the raffle in 1 second, but I want to be super clear. Super clear. Do not enter, do not do exclamation point raffle unless you had filled out the form before class. All right. I can't tell you how much I want to ban live. Oh, it would be so great. All right, so the raffle's starting now. If you go ahead and do exclamation point raffle in chat, you will be entered. And so we're gonna keep this open for a minute. Keep it open for a minute here, just for the folks that got into the form. And hey, folks, you open the newsletter, good things happen. You open the newsletter, good things happen. You can always do exclamation point newsletter if you haven't already followed the newsletter. Good things happen when you open the newsletter. Now, big hint. Big hint. You're definitely going to want to open this newsletter on Tuesday. You definitely want to open it on Tuesday. I never give a hint to tell me when it's coming. I'll give you a hint. Tuesdays, something special. Dragonoid, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. I got to catch up on some of these things while the raffle's open. I missed some bits. I missed a sub here. Hold on, let me get through this real quick. All right. Sheenan, thank you for the 100 bits. Yobi, thank you for the 100 bits. The hype train was wild. Thank you so much, everyone. Jonathan, Let's go. Thank you for the 3 months. And Dragonoid, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this raffle right now. Closing the entries. Or I'm not. Why is it not letting me click? Okay, 1 second here. Technical difficulties. All right, let's go ahead and pick a winner here. And the winner is... Hey, Aerith, there you go. Go ahead and click on that link for me, please. If you go ahead and click on that link, you'll be able to redeem the sticker right away. Go ahead and click that link. Rigged ban. Let's go ahead and make sure that they were on the list. How sweet would this be? All right, we're checking the list. I'm checking it twice. Ooh. Oh, they're on the list. Damn. I typed it wrong. And I got so excited. I typed it wrong. I got so excited. Alrighty. They're good. They got into the newsletter before class. Congratulations. We do have a Pokemon raffle as well that we got to do. We'll do that. I think we'll do that on Sunday because I got to pull that up. On Sunday, we'll do we'll catch up on all the other raffles. Cool. Alrighty, folks. So let's get into it. We got some code to work through. Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to give them a heart attack. Yeah. We got some code to get through. We're going to talk about some stuff here. And then I'm going to stop talking and you're going to start building the lecture for me. Alrighty. Let's go to little Leon here. Your niece crackles and says, I'm so evil. That's wild. Alrighty. So, for homework and for classwork, I asked you to work through a few things. I'm going to go ahead and chill the music here. I asked you to work through a few things. The first thing I asked you to work through was a video on REST APIs. And then I asked you to watch a video on MVC. We're at the point now where we're getting ready to start building some real applications. You all should be gearing up for your 100 hours project, right? You should be gearing up to start building some really meaty stuff in class together. We are going to start building an Instagram clone very soon, starting next week. And so we're going to be building like real apps with real functionality. And before we jump into building real apps with real functionality, we want to add some architecture into the mix. And when I say architecture, I just mean like ways that we're going to organize our code. We had an architecture paradigm in the past that guided us long and well. Anybody remember what that paradigm was, that pattern that we've used in the past? Ooh, count the shelves with the SOC, the separation of concerns, right? So separation of concerns was something we used way back when to help us keep our concerns separate. We kept our content in our HTML, our style in our CSS, and our behavior inside of our JavaScript. So that separation of concerns was our rallying cry when we were on the front end. Today, we're going to be talking about MVC, or Model View Controller. Now, Model View Controller is just a architecture decision that you make to help organize your code better, right? And it's really important that we have some sort of architecture going forward so that as we're working on bigger and bigger projects, we kind of know where everything is and we can start to separate out the things that should be separate. We don't want our data logic, like the stuff that has to go into the database, kind of mixed in with our view logic, like what people can see and interact with, right? We want to be able to start separating out our concerns into different places, like literally different places in our code base, so that we can add, remove, modify, and work well with other developers. Now, there are so many different types of architecture patterns that we can learn. We're going to start with some of the bigger ones. And these aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to be the final thing that we'll be using. As we kind of progress, we're going to keep adding. We'll chip away, we'll add, we'll chip away. And so it's kind of steps. I have to show you some steps that I think have helped people in the past make the jump into separating their code, even if it's not the last thing we'll use before you leave before you leave 100 devs, right? So tonight we have what is a lot of fancy Lego connecting, right? We're going to have lots of jumping around. And as we're jumping around, we're going to try and start to understand how our code is going to be connected going forward, okay? So we are going to have code in a bunch of new buckets. And tonight we're going to be talking about how all those buckets are connected. That's the goal, okay? Now, the beautiful thing is once this clicks, it becomes a lot easier to add stuff and for us to start moving a little bit faster. Okay. So I am only going to use big terms tonight. I am not going to break down those terms. I want you all, once we stop, to then go define those terms, to build a lecture around making those terms make sense for yourself and for anybody else that might approach this topic in the future. That's the goal. All right. So this is the only thing I'll be showing you tonight in terms of a visual. I actually don't know where this came from. I've been using this for a long time. I always feel so bad when I don't have the source. If somebody recognizes this, just let me know so I can give credit here. So here is a visual. When we first started learning about how the internet works, we thought about we thought about how our requests make their way from the client side to our server and back. All right. So in the beginning, we had simply our client. Oops, sorry, I gotta turn on my Demo Pro here. We had our client, we had our server, and then maybe we had like a database that we had thrown into the mix here. And we know that our requests went from the client to the server. The server sometimes talked to the database, and then the server eventually responded back to the client with a bunch of information, right? And we kind of got how that worked. And we've been building out the code that listens to those requests and figures out the response and then responds. And so far, we've been calling that code that listens for the request, knows what to do with it, knows how to respond. We've been calling that building out our what? We've been calling that building out our what, chat? Exactly, our API. Now, when we first started, we just had one big server.js file, right? When we started, we had one big server.js file, and everything was in there. And when we were just using the HTTP and the FS modules, that got wild. That was a mess. So then we introduced Express. And Express enabled us to kind of make that code more readable, but we still had a lot of stuff in one file. And the problem when you have a lot of stuff in one file is not only can you like have to dig through to find the things that you want, right? Right? Not only what you want, but there's a chance that you could break everything else. Like if you make a change, there's a chance that you could break a bunch of other stuff. Right? And so we need to start separating out our code so that it becomes more maintainable, more readable, right? And we start abstracting some stuff so we're not afraid if things break. Cool. So this is essentially the separation of concerns of the backend. You can start to think of it like that. It is a way of us to bring some control and some understanding to our code. This image is actually from, there you go, yeah. Traversy Media's video on MVC. This is where this image comes from. You had one video linked from Brad for homework. I'll be linking that MVC video as well for homework this weekend. And so they have a phenomenal course on MVC. They have a phenomenal, like 2 or 3 videos on it that are just beautiful. And so those will be part of your homework as well. All right. So the idea here is we want to bring some level of organization. Cool. All my homies hate Brad. What are they smoking? Brad's the GOAT. He's the best person in web development right now. Yeah. They've taught so many people how to code. That's wild. Alrighty. Here is a different way of visualizing that same relationship that we've talked about for a while. That client to server, right, to database and all those reactions. Okay. So we have a user. That user is on their client-side device in the browser. Right? That browser makes a request. It could be a GET request. It could be a POST request. It could be a PUT request. It could be a DELETE request. It could be any type of request that's coming from the browser. Right? That request finds its way to our server, and the first stop for that request is the router. Okay? Is the router. The router is going to figure out, all right, what type of request and what type of controller should handle this request. So the router looks at the request. It kind of looks at the URL and figures out what controller should be handling this request. Now the controller is the person in the middle. The controller is going to be the one that's going to figure out, all right, do I need to go talk to the database? Because if I need to go interact with anything data related, the model is going to handle that, right? The model is going to handle anything that eventually has to do with putting stuff in, getting stuff out, or anything that has to do with our data going to the database. Okay? The controller might say, you know what? I don't actually need to go to the model. I can just tell a view to render, right? Or what happens most of the time is the controller says, you know what, model, I need some data. We get some data. The controller then takes that data and hands it off to the view so that we can generate some HTML. All right? That HTML can then get sent back to the browser. Now, the idea here is that this view and this model, they never talk to each other. The controller is the only thing that's enabling them to communicate. Why would separating out our, say, like presentation and our let's say data logic or just data, why would separating our presentation from our data be a really good idea? Folks are saying security. Yeah. Can't corrupt each other. That's a good idea. Organization's a really big one too, right? If we keep these separate, we get a lot of benefits. We can get some security benefits. We can get some organization benefits. And we get the ability for all of these pieces to be their own thing. If my views are separate from my model, then does it matter how I render my views? Nah. And if my views are not talking directly to the model, right? Does it matter how my data is set going into and out of the database? Nah. This could be the wildest stuff I've ever seen in my life, and my view would never know. The controller is going to be the one that talks here, grabs what it needs, then tells it to pass into the view somehow, right? And so the beautiful thing is, right now, what are we using to render our views? EJS. What might we be using in the future to handle kind of our presentation or our front end? Yeah, React. We'll be using React in the long run. And so if we can start separating out the pieces, right? If we can start separating out the pieces, it doesn't matter what piece we wind up using, right? If I want to swap out my EJS for Pug, or if I want to swap out my EJS for handlebars, that's the worst B I've ever written in my life. Does it matter? Does the rest of my project care? Nah. If I set up my model to use, instead of Mongo, Postgres, which we'll get to eventually, does my view care? Nah, it doesn't matter. So in this class, we will be using EJS, we'll be using React, we'll be using MongoDB, we'll be using Postgres. And so we want to build our applications in a way where our concerns are separate, in a way where if we're working with others, we can let them just focus on a view while we focus on the model and not be worried about breaking stuff. I want to be able to swap things in and out without having to worry about breaking the rest of my project. And I want to be able to tell you where to go as we start working on bigger and bigger things. Eventually, you'll be working in teams. A lot of what we'll be doing towards the end of the program is small teams building projects together, because developers don't work in isolation. And you're going to want to sit down with your teammates and say, I got the views, I got the model, let me work on this part of the controller, right? We're going to start separating stuff out so it's easier to work together. It's more maintainable. We know where to go make changes, and the pieces that we use are more interchangeable. So that's the goal. Now, I haven't gone into any detail here. I haven't really talked about how MVC works. I haven't really talked about like what a model really is. I haven't really talked about how models are used in MongoDB. I really haven't talked about how the controller talks to both of these. I haven't talked about how the router picks the controller. And I'm not going to. That's your job tonight, is to explain all of those things in a way that makes sense. What the heck is a model? What the heck is what the heck is a view? What the heck is a controller? What is the router doing? That's your job, not my job tonight, folks. That's what you're going to be all doing. Somebody said, is the stereotype that software engineers are introverted true? There are so many engineers. There are so many engineers that you're going to see a whole range of folks from. I've seen some of the most extroverted people I know are engineers, and some of the most introverted people I know are engineers. There's really no one thing fits all. Most of my engineering friends are hard workers. They know how to buckle down and get stuff done, but some of them are introverted, some of them are extroverted, and yeah. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and start looking at some code. Well, before we look at the code, let's look at our application. Let me make sure my app is running here. All right, got my npm start going here. And let me get a little way down here. All right, so I did npm start. That's new. And let's go ahead and make sure everything's running. I'll come back, I'll stop it, I'll start it so we can see everything. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go to localhost 2121. And you can see I have a page here that says create a to-do list by clicking the button below. Let's click it, shall we? Boop. All right, here we go. I got a lovely to-do list here. You can see I have one to-do left. And at surface level, you're like, Leon, this looks exactly like what we've done before. And you'd be right. But there's a lot of things that have changed underneath the hood. So let's go ahead and do our second try. It looks good. We can still mark stuff complete. And you can see when we mark it complete, our total to-dos go down. And we can delete stuff and it's working. If I go to my Mongo Atlas and I refresh, you can still see that I have a to-do and a completed property in my documents, right? Still kind of all the pieces are here. All the pieces are here. But things massively underneath the hood are different. So let's the to-dos are underlined. That's it. We can all go home. Yep, to-dos are underlined. You figured it out. All right, I'll end stream now. Who we're gonna raid? Yash got me. That's it. It was just CSS. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at what we have going on here. So first, we're going to start at the package.json. In the package.json, I have some interesting things here. I have a script section with the start property. And this start property, you notice, is using nodemon and then the name of my server file. That's right, folks. We've been doing this long enough where we can finally use nodemon and not feel guilty about it, because you'll be in an interview and you'll do okay starting and stopping servers. Okay? What nodemon does is it just automatically restarts your server when you save files. And so the cool thing here is that whenever I save something like in my server.js file, it'll automatically start the server again for me. Cool. I haven't done any fancy stuff with dev dependencies yet. You're going to see that next week. But we do have a new dependency here, and that's mongoose, which we'll be utilizing for a lot of our code tonight. All right. Let me go ahead and stop my server just so we can see that. Let's go ahead and do an npm start. Cool. And so now you can see two things. Server is running, and we connect it to our Mongo database. Cool. If we look at the setup of our code here, we have a couple big folders. I have my VS Code folder. And that VS Code folder is just to keep my settings. I like my terminal settings. I like my editor, like the text editor, like the text settings here. I like that. So that's what that VS Code files for. It just has the figure there. I have a config folder. In my config folder, you're going to see my environment variables, all right? And you're going to see a database.js file. This is going to be the connection to my database. So the beautiful thing about Brad's video that I made you watch is all of that code is MIT licensed. And so I really thought that that database connection was rather elegant. And so I have it here. Don't worry, we're going to walk through it together. We saw a question here. What is the difference between npm start and npm start dev? They're just different commands that you could have. And so right now I don't have an npm start dev like written here, but I do have npm start. That's something that I created to run my node mod. Now you can have any different types of scripts here that you want. And so a lot of folks, what they'll do is they'll run certain things when they're developing and then different things when they're in production. And this is really important because when you're developing, they're going to be doing a lot more debugging and testing. You're going to have all these packages and things that are going to help you like solve problems, but you don't need any of those once it's like live and your customers or your visitors are using this site that's live on the interwebs, right? And so we'll eventually, at the end of next week, the week after, you're going to start seeing that we're going to be running stuff in development mode and then stuff for like production, just so that we have different tools available at the end. Yeah. You could write npm run twerk if you wanted to. Yes, you could. Cool. All right, so I have my package.json here. You'll notice some other things that we have. Other than this config folder, we have a controllers folder, a models folder, my node modules, which is normal, a public folder, a routes folder, and a views folder, right? So we got some new stuff here that we haven't seen before, and we're going to go through it. All right. NPM or Yarn, up to you. We're using NPM right now. We'll use Yarn later in program. Alrighty. Let's take a look at our server.js file. It's going to be different this time. If you look, it's way smaller. Our traditional API code that was here is gone. That's it. Look. Nothing in here. Nothing in here. Can I make the sidebar bigger? Nah, I don't. Well, not right now because it throws off all the other stuff. But if you want the code, you can get the code from the Follow Along Materials channel that has all the folders in it. And the link to the code is here. That way you can see the folders easier. 1 second. There you go. So if you want to see the folders, that link will help you there. All right. So pretty clean. Not too much here. What I've done is I separated out my code into my config, controllers, models, routes, and views. Your code probably is not running because you probably don't have my environment file. So right now, if you look on GitHub, right? Look in the to-do MVC, you look in the config folder, you're going to see that there's no .env, right? Because my .env is in my git ignore so that you don't see my connection to MongoDB. All right, that's all. Just so I'm not pushing it. It's all my secrets. So I talked about secrets 2 classes ago. And so if you're going to use this code, you're going to have to do your npm install. And you're also going to have to create your env file, right? Cool. So some big things here that are missing is we're not using that Mongo client anymore. We're using Mongoose. Chat, what's Mongoose? What's Mongoose, chat? Part of the Wu-Tang Clan, ODM. Well, I could tell you what Mongoose is. But that's your job tonight. Got. It's very secret. All right. So we are using this line right here to connect to our database. And the cool thing is you can see that I require my config folder. And then inside my config folder is a database file. So let's look at that first. I have to go to a config folder and then a database file. So if I look in here, I have a config folder and a database.js file. And all this is a connection to my Mongo database, right? So we're using Mongoose to make a connection, right? To make a connection to our Mongo database. And you can see I'm using my DB string variable like that we've been using in the past. That DB string variable is a variable that is in my env file, right? My environments file. This is the connection. If you did the video, you'll notice this code here. It's just a very nice, elegant way to connect to our Mongo database. And if we go back to our server.js, that's all we need to connect to our database. Is all we're going to do is just run connectdb, and then we're going to run our parentheses, and that's going to run our connection to the database. Because remember, when you see this we're requiring this database file. And if we look at the database file, right, is exporting a what? Chat, what is this connectdb file exporting? Take a look at it. Look what's highlighted. What is that? That's a function. It's spitting out a function, right? And that makes sense because what are we doing right here? What are you doing right here with this function? Yeah, we're calling it. We're saying that run that function. Run that function. Nice. So that's all we need to connect to our database. And the cool thing is that's in a separate file. Right? That's in a separate file. If we want to use something else to connect to our database, right? Maybe we want to switch up how we connect to our database. That's in its own file. That's separate now. So how we connect to our database, that's in its own file. And our environment variables are also in their own file as well. So the cool thing is now I've separated from this server.js file. I don't have my connection logic like all messy and mixed up in this file. It's in its own file. And my environment variables are in their own file. You're going to notice that there's no port here, right? If we go down here and we look, we're using processed environment port, right? Because we know that port is in that environment file. So we've cleaned it up a little bit. We've said the stuff to connect to the database, own file. The stuff for figuring out the ports in its own file, right? That's abstraction, baby. Exactly. Leon's throwing away our training wheels. We got to do it eventually. All right, so clean that up. Next, I have my routes. I'm going to have a separate place for my routes. All my routes is they look at the request and they figure out which controller should be handling that request. Remember, the controller is the person in the middle that's going to talk to our database if it has to. It's going to be the person that hands information off to the views so the views can render. The controller is the person in the middle. But we have to know which controller to use. And so our routes just see the URL, they see the request, and they hand that request off to a specific controller. So here you can see I am requiring my home routes and I am requiring my to-dos routes. Let's start off with the home routes because that's really much easier. So here's my routes folder, and inside that routes folder is a homes.js, home.js. What we see here is in this routes file, we're only really doing one thing. The file sees the route and tells what controller to run. So our routes are only doing one thing. They're looking at the URL, they're looking at that request, and they're figuring out which controller, which person in the middle is going to handle this request. Because we could have so many different types of controllers. So I have two types of controllers right now. I have controllers that are handling my main pages. Like right here, this home page, that's handled by my homes controller. But for my actual to-do list, I'm going to have controllers for the to-do list. So I'm going to have controllers that handle the deleting, the updating, all that stuff. So I'm starting to separate out my application, right? Some controllers are going to handle the main pages, and some controllers are going to handle my actual application, my actual to-dos. So I'm separating this out. So here's my routes file. And all my routes file says is, all right, you have a request coming in on the main route. Use this home controller. So now we have to go to our controllers folder and find the home controller. So let's go there, controllers, home controller. And this home controller, right? This home controller is spitting out a what? What does this home controller spit out? I'm showing you a slightly different syntax here as well. Home is where you make it. It's spitting out an object. And that object has a what on it? This object has a what on it? Pay attention. Ooh, 3D came in first, I think, there. Has a method. Look, look, look. Get index is set equal, right? Set equal to a function. So we know if this is an object and get index is a value that's set equal to a function, then we know that get index is a method. So let's focus in for a second. Don't throw out all the stuff you learned just because we're jumping around a little bit, right? We're jumping around a little bit here, but it's the same principles. It's just objects, right? It's objects, but we're putting our objects into individual folders. That's it. We're putting objects into their own folders and functions into their own folders, all right? So don't get tripped up because we're putting them in their own file, right? Or their own folder, right? Just be careful, right? It's still objects, it's still functions, right? Still the same stuff. All right, let's go back and take a look. So we have this home controller, and this home controller has a get index method. What does this get index method do? Chat, what does this get index method do? It renders out the EJS. It gives us our HTML. So let's pull back out for a second and think about what's happening here. Our user made a request in the browser. How did our user make a request? Let me do it. You ready? There's the request I just made. How did our user make the request? Page load, URL, hit enter. What type of request is this? What type of request? It's a GET request. Great. So the user makes a GET request. That request finds its way to our server. The first step is our router. Chat. What is our router trying to figure out based on this request? What is our router trying to figure out based on this request? What is it doing, chat? Yeah, it's trying to figure out which controller is going to handle this request. That's all the router is doing. The router is going to figure out which controller is going to handle this request. So our router picks what controller to handle this request. Anybody remember? What controller did the router pick to handle this very simple request? Yeah. We had a home controller. Cool. So the home controller heard this very simple request. And when it heard this very simple request, what did the controller do? Hit up the views, exactly. It told the view to render. It said, hey, go render this view. Great. Once the view was rendered, what did the controller do with the view that was rendered? This is a step that we've seen a dozen times now. What did the controller do once the view was rendered? Yeah. It responded. It responded. Let me show you that code. It did respond. Let me show you the code. Let's look at the controller. Here's the controller. We're inside the home controller. Look at it. Renders the EJS and then it RES responds. It responds. It sent that HTML. So if we go back to our handy dandy image here, thank you, Brad. The user made a request. That request made its way to our server, and the first thing that it did is we had this router, this code running, that looked at the request and had to figure out which controller is going to handle that request. So, handed it off to the home controller, and the home controller knew what to do. It said, hey, EJS, render me some HTML. And once the view had rendered some HTML, the controller responded with it back to the browser. So we made a request. The router figured out, all right, which controller is going to handle the request. We picked the home controller. The home controller told the view to render. Once the view had rendered some HTML, the controller responded back to the browser with that HTML. Cool. Cool. Let's look at the code one more quick second, and then we're going to take our break. Let's take a quick peek, and we're going to take our break. All right, so let's follow these steps here. Here's our server.js. Here is the beginning of our router. There was just a request on this main route. So whenever there's a request on the main route, which router file is going to handle that? Whenever there's a request on the main route, what router file is going to handle this? Yeah, if we look, it's going to be routes home.js. So let's go ahead and look at our routes home.js. All right, here's our routes home.js. Great. So this is the router that's going to handle that request. The router said, all right, you made a request on the main route. Which controller are we going to go talk to? Which controller are we going to go talk to? Home controller. Nice. And What method are we going to use from this home controller? The get index method. Great. So let's go take a look at our home controller. Home controller has a get index method. And so when we heard that request on the main route, we went to the home controller. We ran the get index method. And that get index method rendered out our EJS. It rendered out our view. It gave us some HTML. And then we responded with that HTML back to the browser. Real quick. Browser made a GET request. Router heard that GET request, told it to go to the home controller. The controller is like, all right, home controller, I'm going to use the get index method. Get index method made the view render. And then once the view rendered, we responded with that back to the browser. Cool. Let's go ahead and take our well-deserved break of having played hopscotch for a little bit of time here. Converting this human sentence structure is rough. It is. All right, let's go and put 5 minutes on the clock here. Did I hit? No. If you're new here, we take breaks at the top of the hour. All right, I'm going to put some break music on here for you. Please, take a break. Take a break. Corina, hey, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. This is super cool to see in action. I agree. I'm going to run ads so that you actually take a break and so that any new folks don't have to sit through our ads. So we're going to run 3 minutes. Take a break. Come on back. Hey, Leon, what's your favorite non-dairy milk? Chobani oat milk vanilla is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. It tastes like Lucky Charms milk. It's so good. Hey. If I get another Pokemon card, can I request that you autograph it? Sure. Rare, gnarly first hour. No more holding hands. Let's go. Leon, what do you type to run the ad? I don't type anything. I have the stream manager up, and you can add a bunch of buttons to your stream manager. So one of the buttons is the run ads button. So I have the 3-minute one and the 1 minute 30 one that I can click. Yo, Leon, this class has been sweet so far. I've busted my butt off as I felt I was slacking and all this now clicks. Hey, Winter, that's awesome. Glad to hear that. I'm putting that on my grocery list. It's delicious. Sour Dev said, quick question, MVC, do we write middleware in the controller? You don't have to. A lot of your middleware will be probably in your server.js file too. Thank you. Never studied so hard in my life. Hey, let's go. Where do we send the homework slides? When I follow up after class, I'll include the links to share everything. Yeah. Hey, Leon, what is the Thunderdome? The Thunderdome is when things get serious here. We enter the Thunderdome. I come in late for work and Leon's got us going out into the world like grown-ups. I don't know where my life was before oat milk. Oat milk is delicious. It's so good. Oh, I forgot about that. The Thunderdome is we stop class and we do a 1v1. Right now I have Smash queued up for a 1v1, but we can do other games too. I forgot about that actually. Rudy added 2 minutes to the timer. All right, when this hits 1, we'll make it 3. Rudy's like, I gotta make dinner. I have Smash right now. I have Smash queued up for the Switch. So if you wanted to play Smash, I can turn that on and it'll be live. Yeah. All right, 3 minutes. Rudy, thank you for extending the timer. We got a little bit more of a break here. If you haven't taken a break yet, please go take a break. Let your eyes relax. Grab some water. Hydrate. Kiss some babies. Do what you got to do. A sweet Scorpio with the stretch. All right, I'll get my stretch in. As you all know, it's not that kind of stream if you want to see the stretching. My OnlyFans is only 1 million channel points. Oh yeah. Haley, I'm working on my own to-do app. How can I delete a to-do? By clicking on the trash icon. So we actually have the full completed to-do list. You already have that code. And so that code is in the Following the Materials channel on Discord. So if you need that, you can go ahead and take a peek at that. We're also going to go through it together, probably like half hour, 45 minutes. So we'll get there. Shmadu with the posture check. Hey, thank you for the posture check. I'm gonna make sure I'm sitting right. Ooh, there we go. I'll 1v1 you at Halo 3 for OnlyFans access or permaban. So I'm not good at Halo. I kind of don't get it. Like, it's very, coming from CSGO, it's very frustrating. The whole, like, healing, like, the shield healing, like that's, like, that whole, like, that, I guess that, like, inventory management type aspect doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I kind of just rely heavily on my aim from CSGO, and it doesn't really work out well, because it's kind of like you got to really know your positioning well, you got to know the maps really well. So I don't think I would do OnlyFans or permaban on Halo. I'd probably do it for CSGO though. What's the fastest way to get banned from your Discord? Entering the raffle when you haven't found the secret raffle link. You know what to know a secret? People love timers. If you just joined because there was a timer on the screen, can you put in chat why you joined because of the timer? Whenever I put a timer on screen, our viewership like jumps. It goes up by like 10 or 20. I don't understand. Like whenever timer goes up 10 or 20. So if you joined because of the timer, I am interested. Why? Happens every stream. Probably think it's a giveaway. Oh, interesting. Expecting something to happen when the timer goes off. So we're really gonna game this. We gotta always have the like a countdown going. Just put like a countdown in the bottom right hand side. Interesting. All right, folks, come on back from the break. Sorry, nothing important from this timer, folks. That's such a interesting thing. Always be timing. All right, folks, come on back. Let's get back into this. Remember, we're going to go for probably like another hour, maybe less. And then it's your turn to build the slides, to build the lecture. If you build good slides, you build the best visuals for this lecture, you will automatically get the Microsoft Swag Pack, automatically get the Azure credit, you will automatically get a never before released Learn with Leon sticker and the special command that only you have for turning on the Mashi Simba cam. So 3 hours later. I think Microsoft would be okay with your name, Exotic Male Escort. I don't think they're pretty chill. Harold AU, thank you for the Prime. Spending all those Bezos bucks. Let's go. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you're having some fun. Did you join because of the timer? I want to know. Alrighty, folks. Let's get back into this. I'm going to go to Little Leon here. We're going to have Bill Gates gifting Exotic Male Escort subs. I was here before then, Harold. Okay, I'm glad. Cross, we did. We did. This is my delay tactic. All right. So we set up the browser, makes the request, the router hears that request, the router tells what controller to handle the request, that controller told what view to render. Once it got the render, it got responded with. I tried setting it up. I couldn't get it to work. I got to rerun the... I think... I'm a big boy. I was trying to set up the computer, and I tread on the cable. And now the cable doesn't work. And I don't want to admit why the cable doesn't want to work, but I think it's because I stepped on it. So that's the kind of world I'm living in. The cable's not working. I think it's because I stepped on it. So I have another cable. I can get it to work. Need another day. That's what happened. I didn't want to say it on the stream, but you asked. Debate it. Scam. I'm a big boy. I tread on the cable. That's all I'm going to say. Sit on your throne of lies. Did your dog eat your slides too? Alrighty. Alrighty, let's keep going. Y'all got. That's what happened. You know what? I'll say. You got. You came here to get, you got. We ain't gonna sugarcoat it. You got. Alright, let's keep going. I'm gonna chill the music here. Don't make Simba complicit in this web of lies. Alrighty, next one. Alright. So I have this main route that we did. But look what happens when I click on this link. When I click on this link, what type of request did I make? MV. Made a GET request. Cool. What was the route though? What was the specific route from the URL? Yeah, it was the new route. Who dis? Yeah, it was the to-dos, right? We can see, if we go back and I right click and I inspect, you'll see that this anchor tag is a to-dos anchor tag. So it's going to be a get, but it's going to be a get to to-dos. Okay. So when I click on it, it takes me to to-dos. It's a get on the to-dos route. So if we go back and look at our code is set up that says, hey, when it hears a to-dos route, we're going to use this route file, right? If we go back up, we look up top here. So use this file. If we look, here's the file we're going to go to. We're going to go into the routes folder and find the to-dos routes, right? Find the to-dos routes. That's what we're saying. All right. It heard to-dos. It's going to go and grab these routes. So let's go ahead and look at those routes. I'm going to close the home ones just so we don't get confused here. And here are the to-dos routes. Look how clean this looks, y'all. Look how clean this looks. Look at this beautiful file. Look at it. It looks so good. So clean. All right. So now the neat thing is we've already said we're on the to-dos route, right? So since we're already on the to-dos route, we don't have to do like to-do slash create to-do slash mark complete, to-do slash mark incomplete, to-do slash delete, right? So the beautiful thing here is that we don't have to do that. So that's the reason why I like to put it into like its own separate file, because I could put all of the routes here, right? I could put them all just here in the server.js file. That doesn't seem as clean to me, and I wind up having to write a little bit more code. So I just go ahead and I link the actual routes file, and it just knows that we're talking only about to-dos. So the route for all the to-dos will be from this file. And we look at that file, we don't have to repeat ourselves on each of these requests. It already knows that there's to-dos in front. Right? Cool. So now, if I am on the main route, on the to-dos requests, what controller am I going to use? What controller am I going to use for the main route of to-dos? Yeah, I'm going to go find this to-dos controller. So let me go ahead and find that controller. Here are my controllers. Here's to-dos. And look at what the to-dos controller is spitting out. What is the to-dos controller spitting out? What is it spitting out? It's an object, and that object is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 what? 5 what? 5 methods, exactly. And the really beautiful thing is that this controller file is the only thing that's talking to the model. So here's the model. Right, here's the model, and this controller is the only thing that's eventually going to talk to the model. And that's really beautiful, right? It's really nice to know that this is the only thing that's going to talk to the model in the long run. Don't worry about we're not super there yet, right? But we kind of have it all separate. So here's the controller. We went from the server, we went to the to-dos routes. The to-dos routes heard that request on the main to-do route. We went to the to-dos controller, and since we are on the main route, we made a get to the main route of to-dos. We go to the to-dos controller and we run get to-dos. So if we look at get to-dos, it's our lovely asynchronous request, right? It's our lovely asynchronous request. What are these 2 lines doing? Chat, what are these 2 lines doing? I also got some water. I also got some cold coffee here. I wish I could like show this to you. I'm going to wind up spilling this. Don't spill. Don't spill. Don't spill over my ski. I'm not gonna do it. I wanted to show it to you. I can't do it. I'm gonna wind up spilling coffee all over my desk. It's accessing the database. 77. Thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Wait a minute. What do you mean these lines are talking to the database? What's the thing that controls how we talk to our database? What's handling all the data logic and all that stuff? What MVC, what is it? It's our model. Exactly. It's our model. So if we look up here, we have this to-do variable that is requiring our to-do model. That's cool. Let's go look at the to-do model. So in our models folder, we have to-dos. Beautiful. Now, you can see that we're inside of our model. So we're going to need Mongoose. We're going to need to be able to talk to our database. We have a schema, and then we're exporting the model. So I could tell you what a schema is. But that's your job tonight, folks. You got. Brad already told me. Let's talk about it. I'm not gonna give you the definition, but I'll tell you the what. All right. Our to-do list is storing what information in our Mongo database? What's it storing in there? Yeah, we know like documents are like objects, right? Right? It's like an object. And right now, my objects have two pieces of data. Right? My objects have two pieces of data. They have the to-do itself, like the thing I actually have to get done. And it has whether or not it's completed. Now, if we are working on a really large project, we're going to wind up having lots of different models. And the really interesting thing about MongoDB is that it doesn't really force you to have any structure to the stuff you're putting in your database. Chat, why might that be like a horrifically bad idea? I mean, it's really freeing, but why might that be a bad idea? I need structure. No consistency. How do I know? Like, let's say I put a number into my Mongo database. How do I know it's a number? How do I know the to-do is a string? How do I know that the completed is a Boolean, right? I might have to start writing more logic to make sure that my types are correct. I might have to start writing some more logic to like cover my butt in case we're working together and you store something inappropriate in our database, right? And so a schema gives the documents that you put into your MongoDB a structure, a consistent, repeatable structure, right? So that there's no guessing, right? We know that the to-do is a string. We know that completed is a Boolean. And anyone that's working on the project, if they want to know how the to-do data is organized in our database, do they even have to have access Do they even have to have access to our database? Like if we were working together and I didn't want to give you access to my Mongo database, do you need Mongo Atlas access to know how the data is formatted or what's going into the database? Nah, you can just look at my schema. And so that's beautiful, right? The idea that you can just look at the schema and know what's going into the database, how it's organized, how it's structured. And I know that the only way I'm talking to my database is through my what? The only way I can talk to my database is through my what? My model. So this is my to-do model. If I have any concerns about how that data is being structured, how it's making its way in, like I can just come to the model and look at it. That's really powerful. I know that nothing else is going to interact with my database now except for my models. So I don't have to be worried about somebody messing with some code in the server.js file. Even my controllers only interact with the database through this model. They're going to use this model to do everything. That just adds like another level of cleanness and organization, and it enables us to sleep better at night. It's a level of abstraction, right? And so the beautiful thing here is we made a request on the to-dos route. We made a GET request on the to-dos route. Our GET request was heard by the router. That router said, all right, it's a to-dos route, so all the to-dos routes are handled by the to-do routes file. The to-do routes file is like, all right, you're making a request on the to-dos route. It's a GET request on the main route. All right, we know which controller should handle this. It is the to-dos controller. And specifically, I want the get to-dos method to run. So we go to our to-dos controller. We look at the get to-dos method. And the beautiful thing here is it's going to go and find all the documents, right? It's going to go and find all the documents. But are we hard coding like db.collection or anything like that? How does it know where to go find and which documents to go find? How is it doing that? What's it using? Chat, what is it using? Yeah, it's using the to-do model. So that to-do model is what's enabling us to talk to the database. Now, there's also some cool things here is that since we're using Mongoose and not like this, just like the normal MongoDB, right? Mongoose gives us some goodies that we can use. Some things are slightly different, and it's going to be a way for us to do more in the long run. Now, Mongoose is called something, right? It's called something. It's going to be part of your research tonight. It's not just directly MongoDB. It's something that's helping us use MongoDB. It is an ODM. What the heck is that? You're going to figure it out. Cool. Now, you can see that we're using the model to go find all of our documents. So all of our documents are going to be stored in to-do items. Now, what's missing from right here, chat? What's missing from right here? What's missing? Anybody pick up? Ooh, Hits Din got it quick. Yeah, we don't have to-array. The beautiful thing is because we're using Mongoose, it gives us a beautiful object already that we can use. It returns an array of objects that we can use. We actually don't have to tell it to do to-array. Mongoose is like, I got you. No to-array, I got you. It already gave us all that data. So to-do items is our array of objects without needing the to-array. Pretty spiffy. The next thing we're doing is we're going back using the model to go and count all the documents where completed is false. So how many documents do we have left to do? How many things do we have left to do? And then the controller is going to tell our EJS to render. So it's going to tell the to-dos to render. It's going to pass in all the items. It's going to pass in how many items are left. That all gets placed into our to-dos EJS. That to-dos each EJS spits out what, chat? What does this render? What does this render spit out? HTML, exactly. And what are we doing with it? We're responding. Cool. So let's look at the image here. Let's look at the image. User made a request. In this case, how did the user make the request? Because the user made the request in an interesting way. How did the user make the request this time? They didn't use a form. They clicked the link. They clicked that anchor tag. That anchor tag took them to the to-dos page. So it took them to localhost 2121/todos. That clicking of the link, that href, that made a GET request for localhost 2121/todos. So we made a request. The router heard that request. Oh, to-dos? All right, I know which router to use. You're in the to-dos router file and you're on the main path. Great. So if you're in the to-dos router file and you're on the main path, you're going to use what controller? What controller did we use, chat? The router heard the to-dos route on the main path, and we went and used the to-dos controller. And specifically, we used the get to-dos method on that controller. That get to-dos method was able to talk to the database by using our what? How were we able to talk to the database? It was using our what? Yeah, it was using our model. Nice. So by using our model, we were able to talk to the database. We were able to get all the documents. We were able to count all the ones we had left. We handed that off to our EJS. The EJS rendered, so we passed it off to our view. The view rendered out some HTML, and then the controller responded, right? Responded with that HTML. Beautiful. All right, let's do something else. I'm feeling froggy. All right, so let's go ahead and enter an item here. Let's go and enter in get oat milk. He will be talking about it. All right. What type of request did I just make, chat? What type of request did I just make? That was a post. That was a post. How do you know it's a post? I don't have to show you the code. How do we know it was a post? We created something, right? Creating is almost always going to be a post. But I submitted the form, right? All of the forms that we've seen, we've always been creating. We've always been posting with our forms, right? So if you've looked at any of our previous code, it was a post, right? Let's look at this form in the EJS. Let's take a look at it. So I'm going to go to my views here. Let's look at the to-dos EJS. Notice how I have two EJS files. I have an index.ejs. That was this page. This index.ejs was the just the main page, right? That was the index.ejs. This is the to-dos EJS, right? Cool. So let's look at this. Let's look at the to-dos EJS. And if we look at this form, look at the form. To-dos create to-do. Now, there is a way that we don't have to constantly put to-dos in here, but I always find people get really confused when I do it, so I'm just going to hard code to-dos in here. So we know that when we submit this post, we are making a post request to what route, chat? What route are we making a post request to? Yeah, we're making a post to to-dos. Cool. So let's walk through this whole chain. We hear a to-dos request come in. That gets handed off to the to-dos route. The to-dos router, sorry. Here we go to our to-dos routes. Is it a get? No. Is it a post? Yes. Is it a create to do? Is it a create to do post? Let's go back and look. Yes, it is on the to-dos route, and it is indeed create to do. All right, so we know that the router has now found the right route. It's a post on to-dos with create to do. So whenever we hear a create to do request, that's a post request, we're going to go to the to-dos controller, and we're going to use the create to do method. Cool. So let's go to our create to do, our to-dos controller, and let's find the create to do method. Here's the create to do method. Wonderful. It's going to go ahead and create a new to do using the what, chat? It's going to create a new to do using the what? The model. Nice. Now, if I was using something like db.collection and all that stuff, what do I have to be worried about? If I'm not using a model, like if I was just hard coding like db.collection, what do I have to be worried about? Random shiz, exactly. Random stuff. I don't want anyone to ever interact with my code unless it's through a model. I don't want to have to be handling rogue like requests to my database. I want to make sure that I know what type of, how it's making the request, what type of values it's putting into my database. And so the only way I want people to like talk to my database is through the model, right? If it's not going through the model, I don't want it anywhere in my code, right? So I'm using that to-do model. Remember, I required the to-do model up top. So I'm using that to-do model, right, to talk to my database. And because we're using Mongoose, I have the create method. So create is like our insert one, right? We're going to go ahead and create an object, or sorry, a document that has a to-do property, right? And a completed property. Where did rec.body.todo item come from? Chat, where did rec.body.todo item come from? Yeah, it came from the form. Came from the form. So if we go back and we look at our EJS, you can see that it has the name of to-do item. So when we made that request, we made that post, that data was sent as part of the request. And so I can grab that to-do item out of the body, which came with the request, right? All right. I grabbed whatever data was in that input. I grabbed it. And I'm going to use it to create my document in my database. Cool. Once I am done creating that document in my database, what did I do, chat? I reload it. Yeah, I reload it. And when I reloaded, I made what type of request? A get. So my route heard the get request. It's on the to-dos route. It's the main page on the to-dos route. So we have to use what controller? Oh, we're going to use the to-dos controller, but we're going to use the get to-dos method. The get to-dos method goes and gets all the to-dos, takes the count, renders out the EJS again, and then sends that response back to the user. Right? And so the idea here is that we are now doing the same stuff we've done before. Right? Doing the same stuff we've done before. All right? Just what some more kind of abstraction and making sure that we have stuff cleanly in their own place. Why is what slash to-dos right here? Because we are not on the to-dos route. I mean, sorry, we are not on the main route. Ready? Let me show you the main route. Let me show you the main route. That's a good question. Is this the main route? No. So that's the main route. That's a whole different page. That's a whole different page. So we're on slash to-dos, and then on slash to-dos, we're on the main route. Right? We're on the main route of the to-dos page. That's why, because we have multiple pages. So when we're looking at the redirect, we could redirect them back to the main page, right? We could send them back there if we want it, but we want to keep them on our to-do list. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and delete. I'm going to delete first try. All right, it's gone. I deleted it. What's the only thing that we know that could have heard that click on the delete? Yeah, it's our event listener. Exactly. It's our event listener. So our event listener is client-side JavaScript. The only thing that could have heard that click was our client-side JavaScript. So let's go ahead and look at our client-side JavaScript in our main.js file. So I'm going to go to my public folder because that's where all my client-side stuff, all my static files are, sorry. Main.js. All right. So I'm going to select everything that has the delete class because all my delete buttons, all my delete text had that delete class, right? If we look at our EJS, look at the, kill him, ooh. Look at that. Look at that EJS. We haven't even looked at that yet, but look at it. There's some new stuff in here, some new. But something that hasn't changed is that span, right? That span has the delete class, right? Has that delete class. So let's go back to our main.js. We're grabbing everything that has that delete class. We're going to go ahead and add an event listener to everything that has that delete class. So all those delete texts are going to have this delete to do function. So let's go ahead and look at delete to do. And we're doing something interesting here. A little bit different. A little bit different. I'm going to grab the to-do that I tried to delete by doing this .parent node .dataset.id. Now this is I like to call this a hop. This isn't what this is not what we're going to use all the way in the end, but this is a jump to a better understanding. This is one of our jumps to a better understanding. So I clicked on the delete. That was a span. What is the parent node of the span? The LI. Does anybody know what dataset is? Has anybody seen that before? Anybody know what dataset is? What is it? Has anybody seen it? Hell no. Okay, close it. Let me show you. Let's look at our EJS. Look at this LI. It has a data attribute that I made up called data ID. All right. So with HTML5, we got these data attributes, and you can make them up to be whatever you want. So I could have called this data Zabumafu, rest in peace, right? I could have called this data Zabumafu. I could have called this data Rainbow. I could have called this data Unicorn. I could have called it whatever I want. I called it data ID. What did I plug in as the value? Chat, does anybody know what that is? What did I plug in as the value? What did I use here? 3D, you've been on fire tonight. You've been on fire, 3D. I use the ID from the document. Let me show you. If we go back to our Mongo database, every single time, let me refresh this one. Every single time that I create a document, we get this document ID that's created as well. Right? I get this created every time. And the beautiful thing is that this document ID is unique for every document. So what was the problem that we were running into with our older version of our to-do list? What was the hypothetical problem we could have ran into? Yeah, if something had the same name, right? If something had the same name, it would only delete the first one, right? Or maybe we had two of the same thing that were on our to-do list, and we don't want to delete them all. We only want to delete one of them at a time, right? And so if we had a same name, we weren't deleting all of them, right? So instead of having to worry about conflicts, having to worry about if there's multiple of the same name, we're going to skip it. We're not going to use the name at all. We're going to use the random ID that gets made, right, with each document. And so what I did is I plugged that ID in as a data attribute in my HTML. So now every single LI that gets made, it's going to have a unique data ID property, right? That's the ID from my Mongo database. So now I don't have to worry about multiple names, multiple things being the same. I don't have to worry about any of that. Every document will now be completely unique. And so that means every LI will be unique, right? Even if they have the same content inside, they're now unique. And so I use this data ID. And the cool thing is inside of my main.js, I can do data set. Data set is how you grab any data attributes. If I had called it data rainbow, I would have changed ID to rainbow. So if I make this rainbow here, right? If I make that rainbow here, that means that my EJS should have been data rainbow. But I like the word ID here because that's what I was pulling from the database. So I called it ID. And then that means that this is ID as well. So this data set property is going to look at the data attribute of the LI and pull off the ID. So whatever is right here is what I'm going to grab. So that's how I knew to delete that one and only that one. Does that make sense? What we did there? Because this is setting us up. This is setting us up to be able to build real applications. Because what if we're building a social media application, right? We want to be able to know what user made the post. We want to be able to distinguish between the posts from each user. And so we can just be using these IDs everywhere as a way of keeping track of stuff. Right? What's the L? So before I normally had my for loop here, right? Before I had a for loop here, right? Before I had a for loop here. Now I'm just using for each. So if we look at our controller is passing in to-dos, which is all the to-dos from our database. Right? I'm just passing in all the stuff I got from my database in through to-dos. So wherever I see to-dos, it's all the objects I got back from my database. So I'm going to use for each to move through that array of objects. An element is really just each object, each element that was inside of there, each document that was inside of there, right? So I could have called L whatever I want. I could have called it O for object. I could have called it whatever I want. So wherever I see L, it's actually the element that was inside of the to-dos array for that cycle of the for each. So I'm going to pull off the first element to build my first LI, then the second element to pull off my second LI, and then the third element, then the fourth element. And wherever I see L, that's just the element. Yeah. So instead of zebra, I had it called to do. And instead of it being like to do's square brackets I can just do L in all of the places I need it. Yeah. So instead of doing like the old school way, let's actually pull up the old school way. Let's just so people can see it. So here's the to-do list we did together live the other day. If we look at our EJS here, let me make this bigger. If we look at our EJS here, you can see that we just had like the traditional for loop, and then we did like the zebra square brackets I. So instead of having to do that square bracket nonsense, we're going to use the ES6 for each. And since we're using the ES6 for each, we can just do element. And so element's going to be each element or each document from our database. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be L. I just like element because I know I'm dealing with an array of objects, and each element is coming out of that array. All right. So cool thing here is the first time this runs, I grab the ID off of the document. So let's go ahead and take a look. I would grab this like 606 9B02. That is the ID that's going here. Then I believe it was Chop that asked last class. I have a ternary right here. Now ternaries are pretty cool. What the ternary is saying is, all right, element dot completed. Is it true? Sorry, yeah, is element completed equal to true? Because if it is equal to true, then let's go ahead and put in the string completed. But if element completed is not equal to true, then we're going to put in the string of not. And I am using this to set whether or not the spans class is completed or not. So if we actually look at this in the DOM, let's look at it. It's way easier to see this in the DOM. Let me go to right click here, inspect. You can see that right now it has the class of not. See that class of not right here? Class of not. But when I go ahead and I mark it complete, you can see it now has the class of completed. So how I'm changing it from completed to not is with this lovely ternary. And the ternary is just like a conditional in one line. It's a conditional in one line. You don't need the if or else syntax. It's just like a short one-line conditional. So I'm saying, all right, is the completed property on the element in our database equal to true? Because if it is, give it the completed string. If not, give it the not string. So this whole thing right here, this whole thing evaluates to completed, or it evaluates to not. That's it. That's the end result here. And so it's just a cool way. Just a cool way of not having to do this conditional logic here. So it's all that conditional logic in one line. Nice. Nice. All right. Then the last thing I do is I plug in the to-do text. And that's it. So we got a beautiful LI. We use some newer ES6 syntax. And the beautiful thing here is that we're using this data ID so that each of our LIs is unique. All right. How is this so fast moving from folder to folder in different files and rendering? I don't know. Blows my mind that I can be on my phone, tap a button, that request goes to a tower somewhere out in the distance. That request goes from that tower to neopets.com. From neopets.com server, which is probably somewhere in like Texas, back from Neopets server in Texas, back all the way through those wires to that tower, back to my phone, and it happens in like a second. That blows my mind. Blows my mind. Still does. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, it's magic. Right? Now you can spend your whole life just focused on that. Like you could I remember at GA we have like this like library of books that anyone can like use or take from, and the TCP IP book is like this. It's like the size of my face. It's the biggest book I've ever seen. It's like that. And so it's thick. And if you wanted to like learn all about how that works, you can read that book. It's wild. Husband has that one. Yeah, it's the most wild book I've ever seen. But like it breaks it down like how it all works. But to me, it's magic. And I'm just really thankful I don't have to think about that. I can just build my apps and it just works. Cool. Alrighty, so that's the LIs here. The neat thing is that new ID. And we were doing all this to see the delete. So we clicked on the delete button. We went up to the LI and we grabbed the ID off the LI. Right, we grabbed the ID off the LI. That ID is now in the text to do ID. And I am going to make a fetch to my server. Right? Look at the fetch I'm going to make. It's to the to-dos route with the delete to-do route at the end. So it is a delete request that's going to go to my server on this route, and it's going to pass along this information. So my router, since it's a to-dos route, we're going to use the to-do routes. Let's go to our to-dos routes. Our to-dos route said, oh, you made a delete request on the delete to-do route. Great. Let's go ahead and use the to-dos controller, and we're going to use the delete to-do method. So let's go to our to-dos controller. Delete to-do method. Here it is. What we do is we go to our model. We say, hey, model, find one and delete where the ID on that document matches rec body to do ID from JS file. I gave it that big old name so that you knew exactly where it came from this fetch request to do ID from JS file. You know exactly where it's coming from, right? So we're going to go using our model, talk to our database, find one where the ID matches that ID and delete it. Right? You can even see that ID right here because I console logged it just so that you could see that it was the ID number. Right? And so the beautiful thing now is I don't have to worry about name conflicts. I don't have to worry about two things having the same value. I can just go ahead and delete the unique document that I want to delete and not worry. Once I'm done, I respond to the fetch saying I deleted it. My async resolves. And what do? I reload, which is a new GET request. Since I reload it on this page, The reload request is a GET request on the to-dos route. So once again, server says, oh, it's a to-dos route. Use the to-do routes file. To-do route says, all right, we heard a GET request on the main to-dos route. Let's go to the to-dos controller and run the get to-dos method. The to-dos controller has the get to-dos method. Here it is. We use the model to go and find all the documents from the database. We count how many are left. We pass all that information into our EJS file. The EJS file now has this lovely for each. We're going to go and create LIs that have a unique ID from the document. Whew, spicy. And we build all our LIs. When the controller is done, it's finished rendering out that HTML, and we respond with it. Boom. Boom. All right. Let's take a break. We're going to take a break, come back from break. We're going to wrap it up, and y'all are going to start writing your own slides. All my slides will be Stack Overflow screenshots. All right, let me go and pull the timer up over here. We're going to get like 20 new viewers because of the timer. I love it. Boom, 5-minute timer. Let's go. And I'm going to run ads. Take a break. It's the point. Take a break. 3 minutes of ads. Come back. So new folks. Actually, I'm not going to run any ads because we're ending soon anyway. Leon, you are a beast. Thank you. I actually got this dope new shirt. Maurice Ashley, Grandmaster, has like this new merch line that has beast on it with a chess piece in the middle, and I just got it. It's so fire. Let me put some break music on here. I'm so excited for this giveaway at the end of the timer. Will the next stream approach the efficiency of this project? Because now every request ends up with the whole database being sent and rendered to the client. So we're not really focused on efficiency or optimization or anything like that for right now. We're just trying to get apps that work. We'll have time to think about best practices and efficiency and things like that down the line. We save all that stuff until we actually figure out what the heck we're doing. Sorry, I missed the part about slides. What are we doing on the slides? So I said no slides tonight. I want you all to create the slides. So I want you to pretend that you're giving a lecture on MVC. What would you do to convey that lecture to someone? What visuals would you create? What slides would you create? And if you get it into me before Sunday, before our review class, the best one gets a whole mountain of fun stuff. And then we're going to do our review class, and I'm going to run it like a normal class with slides and everything. Mac Day with the stretch. Hey, let's go. Hold on. Be right back. Ooh. Oh, yeah. That was a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Mac Day. Learn full stack in 5 minutes. I did not use method override for this set of code. This set of code's not using it right now. Smaller steps. This timer slaps though. Anybody feel like they're gonna win? Anybody feel like they're gonna build the best slides? Anybody feeling froggy, like they know that they're gonna make it? Imran, your brain melted. Oh no. Run it back. Nope. Yup. Cross is gonna win. She has the secret weapon. Oh no, I wonder what the secret weapon is. If no one else finishes theirs. Mine's gonna be fake, edgy, and badly rehearsed. Just put a picture of Leon's favorite things on each side. Hey. Already brainstorming a killer theme. Hey. Y'all are falling into my traps. I spend too much time on the gifts. Spend too much time on the gifts instead of the content. If I didn't spend so much time on gifts, my content would be way better. Spend like the first day like making it look really beautiful. Oh, it's a secret. Be right back, Googling ranch gifts. The gift of knowledge. 20 seconds, folks. Alrighty, come on back. I'm gonna chill this real quick here. Alrighty. So let's do one last one and then we're gonna end. So let's do one last one, we're gonna end. And let's handle the clicking. Let's handle the clicking. I'm gonna keep the music on. All right, so I'm gonna refresh real quick and then let me click on get oat milk. All right. What type of request did I just make, chat? What type of request did I just make there? Yeah, I made a put. The client-side JavaScript heard that click, and I made a put. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our client-side JavaScript. Was the span, did the span have the not class or the completed class when I clicked on it? Did it have the not class or the completed class when I clicked on it? Yeah, it had the not class. All right, so it had the not class. So we are going to run the mark complete function. So mark complete's down here. Mark complete, oh, it does the same trick. It looks at the span that held the text, went up to the LI, and grabbed the ID off the LI. So that's how we know which one we are updating, right? That's how we know which one we're updating, right? So we know which one we're updating. Because we could do something like this. Actually, let me unmark this real quick. Let me do this. Get oat milk. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at me go. Oh. Oh. Look at me go. Right? Why would this have caused us a lot of problems before? Why might that have caused us problems before, chat? Yeah, because it was duplicates. So if we were trying to find the stuff in our database via the name get oat milk, right? We might not be updating the right thing in our database. We might not be marking the right one complete. But now, we don't care what text in there. We are looking at the ID. And they both have unique IDs. Even though they are the same in our database in terms of content. Let me refresh here. Even though they are the same in terms of content, they have different IDs. B02, a B03. So different IDs, same to do content. Beautiful. All right. So I'm grabbing the ID. I'm making a fetch to my to-dos mark complete route, and it's a put. So once again, we go through the list here. It's to-dos, so we go to our to-dos route file. On our to-dos route file, we have a mark complete, right? So if we look, sorry, let me go back to the main.js here. It's a mark complete on to-dos. So we're in the to-dos route. We see a mark complete. It is a put request. So this is the right router here. We're going to go to the to-dos controller and we're going to run the mark complete method. To-dos controller, mark complete. We use our model to go into the database, find something that has that ID, right? Find the ID and set complete it to true. If it was the mark incomplete, it would be almost the same thing, except complete it would be false, right? So we have our lovely controller here. That controller ran the mark complete method. Mark complete. When we're done, we respond to the fetch. Hey, we marked it complete. We go back. The fetch resolves and we reload, making a get. The get goes and gets all the documents from the database and we see all the new to-dos. And so the cool thing here is that we are able to now have duplicates and not worry. We're using those IDs. All right. I don't think there's anything else new or magical here. I think we covered all the new stuff. Just as another lovely reminder, remember you have to do npm install. Reminder that you have to set up your environment variables or else this won't work. And that's it. That's all I want to cover for right now. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, you got at least 50 minutes left of class. I really want you to try this. Really do. I'm telling you, this is such a good learning tool. I want you to try this. Try creating a lecture, just like the lectures I give here. Try creating a lecture around what is MVC and use this code. So use this code and try and explain MVC. I'm going to submit on the Discord after this class. The link will go up for you to submit your results. So please go ahead and submit your results, your slides, your visuals, whatever you want, right? And get them in before our review on Sunday. On Sunday, we're gonna come back. I'm not gonna do any jokes. We're gonna have slides. We're gonna work through it together. We're gonna make this make sense. We're gonna talk about MVC. So if you want to go through everything, really understand MVC, really want to understand this code, come on Sunday. We're starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're gonna go until it makes sense, right? So that'll be our office hours. Tuesday, Microsoft sponsored class. So whoever makes the best slides and gets them in before our review class on Sunday, you get swag. You get a never before released sticker. You get Azure credit, and you get the special Mashi Simba button. So have a good rest of your evening. We're not going to do any raids. We're just going to get to work. If you want to get to work with some lovely friends, come on Discord. I'm sure that people will be on Discord working after class. Or feel free to use the remote classroom if that's more comfortable for you. But try it, please. Even if you know you're not going to submit them, try building a lecture. See what I do every day, right? It is such a phenomenal learning tool. And you have to be able to start picking up these ideas quickly and sometimes on your own. And so we're going to start practicing that so it's not completely new to you when you're on the job. So your goal is to build slides around MVC, make this code make sense to somebody else that hasn't seen it before, and we'll be back together tomorrow for some quick interview prep, only an hour on Remo. So I will see you all tomorrow. And then I will see you all again on Sunday. Do you prefer a specific platform to build the slides? Whatever you choose to use. I use slides.com, and the underlying for slides.com is something called Reveal.js. So you can make slides in Markdown. So you can write code to make slides. That's what I use, but you want to use OpenOffice or Google Slides, do what you want to do. Have a great night, everyone. Good day, good evening, wherever you are. See you all tomorrow. See you all again Sunday. Let's put in some work. Let's get some more jobs. All right, everybody. Be well. Thanks for coming by. Peace.